Hopefully everybody can hear me. I got my coffee. It's still really hot though. Getting ready. All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Looks like everything should be working proper. So we'll just give everybody a few minutes to filter in here. Black ice, I'm snapping just to test the microphone. It's a typical audio technique to make sure that a microphone is working properly and the levels are coming in clearly. Can you hear me now, Henry? Can you hear me now? Excellent, excellent. That means everything is working properly. Let's see if you guys can hear me munching on these chips real quick. These are good chips. Got that avocado oil going. Cooked in 100% avocado oil. Honey barbecue. They're Boulder Canyon Authentic Foods. If you're interested in the ticker, it's on the NASDAQ. It's SNAK. They tell you right on the bag. Let's see how they're doing. Let's see how long my chips will be in production. Oh, snap. You guys, you got to buy more chips. They're going down. You guys, if I don't have these chips, it's going to be terrible. It's going to be a terrible day. If this happens, oh dear Lord. Ah, that coffee's hot. Yeah, we definitely have to look at POLM, don't we? Gotta figure out what's going on over there. Got this crazy stuff going on. Let me just start charting this out real quick. Let me be right back. Got something going on upstairs. Coffee and chips, yep. It's an odd combo, but it's what's keeping me going. And it's a great way to stay in shape. Alright, so let's look over POLM real quick. Let's get situated here. Yeah, about there, okay. Got several points that I'm just gonna map out here that we're not necessarily gonna need for tomorrow unless something really crazy happens. Main thing we got to pay attention to is you had 1 day, 2 day, 3 day stair stepping pattern, and it came from a pretty particularly low place. It's moved what, from $1 to 337, hit 390 in after hours, and began coming back down here. So it'll definitely be interesting going into tomorrow. Let's see if we can get some more lines drawn here that'll be helpful to us. Looks like the 320 mark is really important. So as you can see, we got a lot of different lines drawn here. Generally, we did have this jump in trend day by day. We did have this dump off at the end of after hour sessions, which brought it down. It's sitting at 360 now in after hours, but it wasn't on any particularly large amount of volume from the looks of it. Looks like it had some volume. But essentially what we're really going to be watching for is this 320 level. Seems to be the most important one that it needs to hold first for tomorrow. If it manages to hold that, like for example, if there's a dip right at the open and it holds that 320 level, then there's a really strong possibility that we're going to have a continuation on this move. If it cracks this 320 level, I would say there's a $3 psychological resistance that would occur. Overall, that 320 level is going to be your really big indication. As long as it stays above that, that there's a good chance that this is going to continue an upward motion. We did already have 3 days of the uptrend, which typically we only look for about 3 days from any sort of run before we expect a correction. So that's also something to keep in mind with this chart. It's really going to depend on if there are any other plays going on as well that might steal focus from POLM, that might drop this below that 320 range and start this on its reversal downward, which if it cracks that $3 range could end up becoming a really nice short, especially break that 272, and then it keeps heading downward towards that 2. So it is obviously up a lot higher than it should be. We have to keep that in mind as we go into this tomorrow, that there is a good chance that if it holds at 320, it could continue higher. If it doesn't hold it, it could end up being a very good short. It's a very volatile play currently. Let's see. We got TGB. All right. So we did manage to hold this line from earlier when we drew it. I'm assuming we drew this last week. Either that or I might have drawn it early in the week. So we did break above it, but just barely held above it. Let's see what's going on here. It's still holding that uptrend overall on the 4-hour. TGB is not one that's expected to move very rapidly, though. So you got to remember, this is moving from around that 60-cent range at the end of October to $1.50 now. It's at currently closed at $1.45 at the end of January. So you've got 3 months worth of action here to move this amount, which means that this has a ability to move, but it takes a while for it. It's a swing play. And as long as gold is able to hold this price or start to move higher, then there's a possibility that this will continue higher. That must be something to do more so with their, looks like they improved their operating, they're improving operating and financial results that they reported on the 27th. Obviously has something to do with it. And they just continued an upward motion from there. So the next catalyst looks like their next earnings is February 23rd. That's something that, if you're swinging this, would have to watch out for. CACB. It's an interesting chart here that we have. Let's check it out. Looks like right about there. Zoom in just a little bit. Just to get a better idea of what's going on here. The 8's a psychological resistance. We got 815 there. So on the 4-hour, it's heading into the Ichi cloud. Looks like it's also pulling back. Held the 770 mark and is trying to bounce back upward. So you're going to watch for this $8 break to occur again with this. It's going to be a strong indication that it's going to try to retest this 824 here. Like so. If it doesn't decide to break this 8, or if it does break it but it has really weak volume to try to test the 815 and comes back downward, then it's going to head towards this Ichi cloud on the daily, and that's when it's really going to be starting to test these lower levels here to see if there's a pullback that needs to be done on this. I do see that their earnings report just came out, which it looks like what they had an 8-cent versus their, or 9.5 cent versus 8.5 cent. So they're sitting in, that seems pretty even in line. Okay. NNI 25 million. So they had a 0.84% surprise on their efficiency ratio, net interest income. Seems like everything was pretty in line with what the analysts expected. Their other income was bad in comparison to what was expected. Total earning assets was down. But overall, it seems like it was pretty evened out, which shouldn't affect this too much. So, like I said with the chart, you're looking for that break of $8 here. I'm seeing DRAM, D-R-A-M. I know we've looked over that a couple times. Did we ever break over that line? We did not. It looks like it's bouncing off that Ichi cloud for that past few days. Let's check this out though. Looks like it isn't really doing much at this point. Must have done this way earlier in the week when we had this break upward, and that's our big level that it wasn't able to hold and fell back downward. And it's still holding around this 130 to 146 cent range. But overall, it looks like it really did that pop fade. So there's not enough of an indication of which way it's going to decide to go quite yet. On the daily, it's technically still holding above this Ichi cloud. You can see that it's trying to make a little bit of a reversal here. So it's really going to depend to see if it's going to be able to hold this above about $1.36 is where the Ichi's sitting right now. If it's trying to hold above that and then try to head above this line here, $1.55, that's when you're going to have a bullish indication again. Other than that, there's not too much to indicate which way the chart is going to want to go in the next week yet, just considering what the market conditions might be overall. So this one's still a little bit up in the air, but those are the two things you're going to be looking for. $1.37, $1.36, $1.37 holding would be nice indication, and $1.54 being broken, so $1.55 to the upside for a bullish indication towards that $1.70 mark again. That $1.70 mark is going to be the major trigger for an upward movement. Color clouds, the yellow cloud, if it's above the yellow cloud, that's a bullish signal. If it's above the red cloud, that means it just headed, it was like a trend reversal. You can see here, this was a red cloud, and once it became a yellow cloud, that means it's, as long as it's staying above that yellow cloud, it has more of a bullish tendency. And as long as it stays below the red cloud, then it has more of a bearish tendency. And once it cracks through, that's your reversal that occurs, and that can add to a strong movement. TXMD. So we're on the daily chart here. We're not seeing too much of a copious amount of price action with this one. Get some of these lines out here. Looks like we got a lot of low peaks. This thing likes to drop randomly and then pull back. Looks like you just hit $6 on Thursday and you're dropping considerably. Let's look back a little bit further just to get a better idea of what occurred there. Yeah, it looks like you had a level at about $6. Marked about right there. A little bit of a dirtier chart with all those lines, considering the reduction in the price action. But it looks like, yeah, about $6 was your resistance point there. It hit the resistance point. It broke through a support. So it's trying to head back down. This is a 1 hour Ichi, so it's not as reliable as a daily Ichi. But it looks like it's trying to head back down to that 550 area. Looks like, yeah, kind of missed a little bit of that run there, and now it's in a downtrend here. You could draw out the downtrend pretty easily there. Once you see that trend break, then you could see a reversal in the price action. And just so everybody, just a quick reminder, I do try to go through these tickers pretty quickly, just to give you guys a general sense of the technical analysis that can go on with them. Just to give you a general idea of possibly which way it would move. Does not mean that I'm right every time. This is for educational purposes, just so you guys can get a better idea of charting analysis. FCSC. Well, we're not seeing much movement since that breakout. What was that? 2 Thursdays ago. So not even this past Thursday, not the Thursday before that, but 3 Thursdays ago. Okay. Obviously, you can see that this came from much, much higher places over the past 2 years. Hit a low of 52 cents, and it's a possibility that we have some kind of reversal going on. I keep going to the 1 hour chart. There we go. Price levels. I'm not seeing anything too fun on this chart currently. But as always, we're going to take a little bit of a closer look just to get a better idea. So you had that breakout through the Ichi Bollinger Band cross. You had several indicators. This probably ran on some kind of news. Announces FDA fast track designation of FCX 007. So that's what caused this move from, it looks like, about 65 cents up to $1.17. Zoom in a little closer. You can see that by the end of the day, it was already back down to 83 cents, and slowly and surely has just been dropping ever since. Bounced off this support here at 70. Wasn't able to quite break through 80, so it's still holding a steady downtrend. If you wanted to get rid of just the spike, draw something a little more like that. Make that a little bit bigger for you. You can see that it's generally in this downtrend that it looks like it's catalyst based that would cause a pop upward from here on out. So other than that, this chart's not looking like an excellent hold, or there's no reason to buy into it currently according to the technicals. TNXP, let's check it out. Not seeing much of anything. It also helps if you're writing the ticker in, what you're looking for in the ticker. You're looking for a short-term play, daily play, long-term play, because the charting is always going to be different depending on how you actually want to play, the ticker. It could be down 10% tomorrow, but maybe you're looking for a good entry for a 3-month swing, for example. So those are things that would be helpful if you write those in with your tickers. I'm not seeing that this is going to do much of anything. You do have the possibility of swinging it from like 50 to 60 cents over the past month. And that's about all you really can look for right now. It's hanging out in trend channel currently. And we'll draw that trend channel out for you. Ooh, okay. I didn't mean for it to zoom out. Oh, it's because I'm using the wrong drawing tool here. You can see pretty simple trend channel happening here. We did have a little bit of a dip down to 45, but we're generally getting that 50 cent to 60 cent trend channel here, and it's not really wanting to move much outside of that, and it's starting to consolidate a little bit more into the trend channel. So other than that, if you're trying to play it for a possible scalp play from 50 to 60, that's certainly a possibility. Other than that, it looks like this wants to move on some kind of catalyst or some kind of random amount of volume. Not sure what the catalyst was here. Looks like on the 19th they had FDA grants breakthrough therapy status on PTSD treatment, so that would have been what caused this move. And subsequently we had 3 big red candles from that 75 cent range, so it really died out quickly. LTRX short term. Okay, interesting. Let's check it out. Highest point in 2 years. Now we do have a highest point in 3 years. That's way back here. And then we do have some data back here as well that we can utilize for our charts. And we can see the 2 touched here, and look at that, equal. So that's how you know historical pivots are always in use. I do like this trend line here as well, this longer term trend line, showing that there's overall reversal in the company from, what is that, February. So about a year now, it's been in a reversal trend from 80 cents moving slowly upward, which makes it better for that long-term play. Now, is there any reason that this moved on Friday? Or did it just move 30%? Oh, it moved on earnings, okay. So they actually had 0 earnings versus a negative 5 cents. So that's what caused this movement upward. Right now, it's not looking like it might have any more movement. It looks like it'll probably reverse, just according to the overall chart. If we look back, where we had this large spike, drop back down, residual spike, and came back down to head back towards that trend line. So this is really outside of trend currently. So it might have a drop down to this $1.90 area, and then maybe come back to retest in the low 2s. If you see it break that 225, that would be a strong indication. And I would watch out for something like $2.70 as a price target. UNIS long term. So this is the one that we looked at. You can see we were drawing a stair-stepping pattern here. And then it dropped off and held underneath this channel, which is not good for the short term. Means it's basically topped out. And I don't know anything about the company's financial. When I say long term, I usually just look at the charts to give you some kind of indication of maybe they are heading into some kind of reversal. There's a big step down for them, which I'm sure it's probably not that big. They probably had several reverse splits, or at least one reverse split to cause this price action to look as high as it is. And then it started heading lower from there. Oops, I wanted to go a little bit wider than that. And there's the reverse split right there, the 1 for 10. We found it on May 13th. So that's what causes them to look like they were at $60 a share at one point, when in reality they were actually $6 a share. If we go back, and that means that this low of $1.58 was actually 15 cents. And they weren't $60 a share, okay, $50 a share, but it's actually $4.89. They dropped to 15 cents, reverse split. So keeping that in mind, they got out of this initial downtrend, then this secondary downtrend. They moved up a little bit lately here. And on the daily, they are breaking through the Ichi cloud. So for a longer term, there's a possibility that this company is starting up something here. Now, you'd have to read more into the financial statements, and you do also have to worry about the catalyst of the earnings on February 9th. According to my TOS platform here, it could be a different date. Those are what you would really want to be watching out for. FIVN. Interesting. It's a pretty interesting chart we have there. From 348. Let's do initial, then down. Then you had about right there. Coffee. You had a short-term downtrend. Had initial up. Then you had a very strong up. Now it's starting to small down. And as you can see here, when we broke that uptrend, had that little downtrend go there. This should be moved up a little bit more. Oops. I just want to activate the drawing. Currently, oof. You're gonna want that to bounce up if you're in this long term. If not, then you're gonna definitely look for this to break or crack downward. And according to this chart, I mean, a great time to buy if it can break that 1527 mark there, which by then will probably be about 1550. You'll be looking for below 1550 for an entry. I mean, ideally you're going to look for an entry around 1450, but you did just have this spike upward. It does look like they have nice reversals on the trends for a couple dollars. So for a long-term entry point, this little basin right here would be what you're aiming for. We'll see. It had this green candle off of this upward trend line. We'll see if it holds. That would be what you're looking for. HTBX short term. Let's see. How much did it move? It's already back down to $1. This thing's such a POS ticker. What moved it? Nothing. I wouldn't count on this moving upward unless they have some kind of news catalyst at this point. Volume tapered off. It did drop back to retest that dollar and came back up, which does make that an interesting ticker to watch. I'd only keep this on watch, and I would watch for a height of day above this $1.13. I do know that it came from, up here. Which is a pretty ridiculous run for this ticker. And it dropped back exactly to where it was, so it might be starting up again overall for a swing. But we do see that it had a couple times where it tried to poke its head upward. Once, twice, now here's the third time here. And it dropped back down into the 80s. So just be wary of that. ENRJ short term. Well, I know we said basically buy this above 50, sell it in the 60s. It got up to 66 cents, eh? Broke up and above and actually managed to hold above 50, and then broke up to 68. I don't see any reason that it's doing that in particular to the stock. Usually its trends are like that, so this is going to be an interesting one to watch for tomorrow. It's the last time that I had a pop like this. As As you can see, usually they're pop fades. Now it has this Bollinger Band crossover with a couple upwards candles, which is kind of a different trend for it than usual. Definitely something to keep on watch for tomorrow. I already kept it on watch for Friday, but I wasn't awake all of Friday, so I didn't notice it. DNR short term. DNR short term. Okay. Not seeing much here to short term, to be honest with you. It's got a decent amount of volume, but it's not really doing much in the upward direction currently. Very dirty ticker overall, and it's only moving about a range of 20 cents, less than 10% in the range. So you could try to scalp it from this 365 range to, I would say, the 380 range to be safe. That would be your scalping range right now. You did come up from here in November, and it's hanging out here, so you got to be a little bit careful of that, since it is technically heading in a downtrend. I don't see anything great about this short term, though, even. Yeah, DNR has been his favorite stock forever. I remember that. Right now, it's not looking like it's an excellent stock. It was back when I remember we found it at like $1 back in the day and watched it go up like nuts. Alright, so AREX. I'll have to check out ESES. I have not even taken a look at that chart yet. 2 to 4 week swing. Okay, let's check it out. You have a double top going on here and here, and downward approach. It's trying to break through the Ichi cloud on the 4 hour. Looks like wanted to base camp at 250 and 3. It's possible that you're going to get a 2 to 4 week swing on this, and you'd be aiming for about that $4 mark would be the safe bet here. Truly, to be safe, is about 360, which doesn't leave a lot to the upside. This move right here is what really probably interested you initially, but you do have this kind of double top situation going on that you have to be careful of, that this could, even though it is showing a reversal in the past week or so, it could head lower. How do I add the earnings in the chart? I don't know. The earnings are already added in. I need to check out this ES. Oops, not ED. ESES. I see. So this is what everybody was yelling about. Making cup and handle formation. Well below this $1.60 though. That's what's concerning. Not sure what the catalyst was on this. Was there a catalyst at all? I see. So they got some kind of contract. That's what saved them from this. So basically the contract news probably was out to some people, huh? And then it's forming this cup and handle. It should be an interesting stock to watch tomorrow. I expect it'll probably go down, but AMD for earnings, how dangerous? Well, they beat their last few, and I kept calling that they were gonna not beat the last few that they had, so earnings are always, they always have a sense of danger to them. I'm kind of rooting that they're gonna have upside this time, so we'll see what happens. I do have position in AMD from $10.02. We'll see what happens. I'm not great at predicting earnings. GSAT for short. I mean, did they get that Uber contract yet or not? If they didn't, then it's probably a good short. They're supposed to get that crazy contract like a year ago, and then I think they got swatted down for it. So, say, up 16%. I wouldn't short it quite yet. I would watch for that crack of $1.60 that it's going to start showing that downside again. Not exactly sure why it ran. It seems like a lot of tickers are running just to run. People are just kind of pumping it. This actually ran up to $2 right there, and it's trying again. I'd be careful over $1.70. It looks like if it goes over $1.70 or so, then there's a possibility that it'll have a continuation on Monday. What about SPWR? Okay, let's check it out. I don't know what we're looking for in the SPWR. MSTX, you can't call a 1 to 2 week swing on MSTX. It's MSTX. It's a garbage company. Any future for PTX? Probably not. Overall, they keep lying to the shareholders about what they're trying to do with the company, and people keep eating it up. So, I've heard the same stories for over a year or so about that company, and nothing's changed. But, there's always companies that surpass our expectations. We never know what these companies do. So we're looking at SunPower. It's in that downtrend, and it doesn't look like it's breaking out quite yet. It did have that curvature down there, but that doesn't mean much to us. And overall, it's in a long-term downtrend. I don't see much about SunPower that I'm enjoying right now. They would have to, especially considering that the market is going to be geared more toward natural gas than solar right now. So I think URRE, we've gone through it plenty already. That's more of a Henry situation. He knows more about that company. Seed starting to dip. I can see this. It's definitely way down underneath the Ichi cloud on the daily, and it looks like it's going to try to find some sort of support here at 2. Looks like it might have double bottomed. If you're looking for a re-entry, then below this line here of 213 is going to be where you want to have an entry if you're trying to get in for a longer term play. And if you're getting in for a longer term play, I don't know enough about this company to recommend anything. So that's all up to you. I'm just telling you, it looks like about, it's going to try to hold that $2 range. And if that $2 range cracks, of course, you can make another exit just to protect your losses, protect your capital, and then reevaluate and make a new entry. I'm not going over ETRM. Brandy, that's all you. You already know how I feel about ETRM. I think it's a garb company. So, ISR short. Now, when you say short, I'm assuming you mean that you want to short the company. And it's a 59-cent per share company. And it was only up 7% on the day. There's not a lot of data going either way with this. We do see this slight downtrend from 63 cents, 67 cents. Downtrend, 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 downtrend. We do see that it grounds out at about, normally it grounds out at 55 cents. It looks like cracked beneath there and it bounced up, and it looks like it's going to continue downward here to try to make another one of these bounces from the 50-cent range. Other than that, there's not a lot of data to this chart. It looks like it's very thinly traded. What do I think of AMRS? I think in the long term, it is going to be a strong company. I think that their next earnings sheet's going to show a lot of the contracts that they picked up, and that's going to give them the catalyst further to move upward. And ultimately, I believe that it's a company that could go as high as $2.40 to $2.70. That's my ultimate price target on it. But that's my opinion. I don't really know. I just am always going to make sure that I'm protecting the money that I have in AMRS as a holder of it, and that I'm not going to take a loss on it. MSTX showing an interesting 3-month trend. I mean, yeah, you got like a stair-stepping thing going on here. Still, we know that the contract came out, and until this thing is goes through the reverse merger, which is worth about 15 cents, and it's sitting at 13.8, so there's not much upside. And we don't know what this Savara is actually worth. So there's not really any reason to actually go out of your way to play this now. EXEL. What I find astonishing, everybody wants to play EXEL, but nobody wants to play EXAS. I know that they're a little bit more in the downtrend, but they have a great great pipeline. So another one to look at. I know that they're not looking as strong as EXEL's chart right now, though. But I don't know as much about EXEL. No MCIG. Isn't MCIG some... Yeah, some OTC weird crap? I don't know. I don't play OTC and I don't play cannabis. I say follow all the cannabis stocks. If you're going to talk about MCIG, there's no reason to do a technical analysis on it because it's an OTC. OTC, they don't like to follow technical analysis. Do we have any specifics about EXEL that we're looking for here? Overall, the long-term chart's really good on EXEL. But I'm going to assume that it's going to be more fundamental based at this point. You're going to have to know more about the fundamentals of the company to understand how much higher this is going to go. It is well outside of the range, so you'd have to look into the pipeline for this one. It's more of a fundamental call. CVM, I'm looking for a spike to 15 cents next week on CVM. I think we've covered it a lot in the room, so that's going to be what we're looking for. GLBS, we might as well take a look at GLBS. What is going on with GLBS now? Didn't I have lines before for this? Where'd my lines go? I at least had boxes. I must have pulled up a different chart now or something. I don't really see this so much an uptrend anymore, at least on the short-term scale, Henry. You are seeing this, which could be the beginning of another stair-stepping pattern. It is going to have to break above 10 again in order for a continuation to possibly occur. But it is starting to weaken out. It's not a bad chart yet, though. It's not a bad chart at all. If we go to the daily, you can see that's interesting. Actually, if we look at the daily Ichi, actually got stopped out at the top of the Ichi. Broke back below, and now it's trying to break back in again. That's really interesting, especially considering this is such a dramatic chart. Huh. You know, I mean, GLBS, like I said, doesn't look like it's down and out yet, but it's harder to bet on it now. Let's see. AGLE. Okay. AGLE. I don't know if you're looking long term or short term. I mean, we can already draw a nice, easy short term line here. That they're in a downtrend. It looks like they had one. There's that one nice little breakout going to 10 out of nowhere. Or is that my charting software just screwing it up? Oh no, that existed. Okay. They are showing a pretty bad downtrend. They're breaking all of the levels that they needed to hold. That's not looking good for them in the long term. Look at them in the shorter term. They just dropped from 5 to 4 in the past, what, 5 days? I don't see anything good about this company right now. Besides that spike. I mean, we can draw this. It's a little more accurate. Come on, TOS, work with me here. There we go. That's your downtrend, and it's not looking good. Time frame, more or less, for AMRS, a year plus. You're looking for a reversal play on AGLE. We're getting close to a time for a reversal. You're going to look for a retest of $4, which we have to check here now. You had your test here at $4. You're sitting at 4. I don't know why it always screws up these trend lines when you go in short term. It's actually showing above the trend in the shorts, but we know that's not true. Yeah, it's possible that you're going to see a reversal in a trend, but it looks like it likes to hold trend channel for a little while before bouncing upward. So it might take a little while for this play to come into effect. For example, we did have this bounce here, secondary bounce, and you are coming from that secondary bounce here. So if you look at the history, it would take a little while. So it might hang out in the 450 range. You might be able to get a 4 to 450 soon. AUPH, did we look over this one? Safe re-entry. Looking at the 4-hour chart here. I don't like what I'm seeing on the 15-minute chart here. A lot of pre-market volume to a crash. It looks like it's just going to want to go lower. I don't see how you can say it's going to hold 330 if it's at 322 already. I think if it can hold 330. Yeah, if it can hold 330, then there's a possibility that it could have an upwards movement, but that's just speculating on the chart saying, you know, well, if a chart goes up to $10, then I make a bunch of money. I mean, just doesn't mean that it's going to happen at all, but I mean, that might be more of Henry's type of call. I personally, I don't see a reason for more of an upward trend on this. In fact, I see more of it, more of a possibility of it cracking to 3 and hold below. Everybody wants to see TSLA. I want to see TSLA myself. This is a gorgeous pattern from the 230s. It's been in straight up uptrend, which is surprising. With Trump being president, you wouldn't think that this was going to go up as high as it does, right? No, it is a really pretty chart. We'll see if it can break above this 268. Head back into the 280s. I'll be very, very pleased with that. Overall, it is a great chart. Anybody who caught this dip here back in February is definitely pleased. That was a great time to buy it. Henry, you say the 350 break like you're expecting the 350 break on AUPH. You can see that this has terrible ability to try to hold above certain points. It's possible. To me, it looks more like it's going to have a break downward than a break upward from here. Yeah, for re-entry, 350 would be more of an ideal re-entry. You're right about that. Just to make sure that we're getting that uptrend going. Yeah, if you're still holding below $3, that's fine. Because at least you know if that $3 crack occurs, then you can get out and not lose any money on the play. Those are the best kinds of plays, you guys. When you can get in, if you're really trying to make some money on a play, then, you know, at least if you have that good entry, the worst that can happen to you is you break even and you try again on something else. What about AirG, JNUG, and MUGT? Let's type them all in at the same time. Henry, all three of those together is not a symbol. You have to choose one. AIRG's having a tough time. I still think AIRG is going to have a blast upward eventually, but right now the chart is short-term bearish. JNUG and NUGT, they're both for gold miners. So instead of taking a look at this, let's go ahead and take a look at gold itself, gold futures. And let's see what we find out here. I think last week we were looking and it was at 12.15. So I want to pull up the 30-minute 10. All right, yeah. So we did dip here. Did JNUG have the same action? Indeed it did. We dropped down, eh? Oops. It looks like on the 30-minute we broke back through that Ichi cloud. So we're getting back into an uptrend on gold. You can see as soon as it broke through this Ichi cloud to the downside, that is on the 30-minute, so that gives you 10 days of price action. If we take a look at the daily, what we were looking for is this to attempt this upward breakthrough. Draw it for you. We were looking for it to break upward that way. Red on red's not such a great idea. Instead, it broke downward. And we kind of need it to hold, looks like 1180 here, in order for the possibility to continue upward action where it could have the trend reversal. So, and it looks like it did manage to hold that level at 1182. So that means that gold is still in play, and it is heading in the upward direction. So if you picked it up on Friday, you're sitting pretty good on that level. Any good cannabis stock you recommend? I recommend just looking at all the cannabis stocks ever, find out which ones have the uptrend. I don't play cannabis stocks. Cannabis stocks are for those OTC kids, Wall Street Bets kids. I look for more solid companies. Not saying that those cannabis stocks can't be solid companies, but I saw what happened to a lot of people after the green rush back in 2012. So let's see, DDS. I don't know what happened to you, DDS, after Friday. What's going on with this? Is that just 450 volume to drop it? Yeah, 450 volume. So that's just down $1 after hours on 450 volume. I don't know what you're looking for in DDS necessarily. Looks like they dropped recently and they're heading into a downtrend. They're way breaking down. I'm not sure what's going on with the company. If you see that 54.37 break, that's even worse. It looks like it tempted it here. Goodness. Definitely would have to do some research on this company to try to figure out if there's anything viable here. But it's not looking good overall for their situation. And you have a company from 144 dropping down like that. I mean, pretty early on, 2015 too. It's not like we're going into a downtrend overall in the market. And then they couldn't break through the Ichi on the weekly even, so it's not looking very good. When am I buying BRKA? I don't know, never. I'm not gonna spend that much money on fucking, excuse my language, $250,000 a share stock. I mean, it's a good investment, I guess, but that's just too crazy for me to even fathom. How does B look compared to A? 23 to 167. That's peanuts. If it was 23,000, 167,000, right? Or 34,000 to 250,000. Obviously, BRKA is way better. PIRS for a swing. Okay, I was looking at that for a second, like what is going on with this chart? Probably have to zoom in, hey? Well, I'm seeing that trend line. I need price level. Well, right now, you got a good indication for that trend upward on that break to 235 if you're trying to play a small swing on it. Other than that, you do have that longer term downtrend, but that small swing from where it is now to 235 to 250, that would be your exit on that, unless you know more about the fundamentals of the company and you think that there's going to be some further action. CFGN, I think, is finally attempting its reversal. which is pretty great. As you can see, we did drop from this $7 range back in July, I believe. Yeah, July 18th, it looks like. And ever since then, it has had a slow attempt at recovery. Very, very slow attempt with one break below. And then finally had that breakout higher. So it looks like it's going to try to hold above there. I think overall that ZFGN does have a pretty substantial pipeline, and they just took a really heavy beating with this. Eventually, I think they're going to get out of this funk and head back to the $6, $7 range. That being said, right now they're probably going to surf about 390 to about 410 to 420. So I think ZFGN is still good for a long-term play for a couple more dollars, based on research that I've done previously on them fundamentally. TPLM. Think TPLM is any good? Oh, okay. No, I don't. If that's the question, I don't think that they're any good. I think it's a garbage company. I didn't realize that was a question. Yeah, there's nothing to really look for on TPLM right now either. You're thinking long term for TPLM, then you're probably going to lose money. Sorry, unless you know something I don't, but the charts really just say that they're garbage. If you need any indication, coming from $12 to hitting a low of 13 cents, it's probably not a strong company fundamentally to invest into. I'm surprised they actually haven't, I don't know if they claim bankruptcy yet, but I'm surprised they haven't if they haven't already. What do I think of CLVS as a long? It's a good question. I don't have a clue, to be honest with you. That's quite the recovery. It's quite the recovery on their part. I don't know enough about this company to make a sound judgment on what this recovery means. It does look like they're having a very massive recovery, which is a good sign. You would have to look more into their fundamentals to see if it is a good investment from this point. Otherwise, the indicator at $36 would have been the indicator for movement higher. I think we played this in this range in August, didn't we? Somewhere around here. I remember we played this one before, and people wouldn't hold it. made some good money on that one, but I didn't know about anything about it long term. Do I prefer to draw support lines on 3-year week charts overall? I always like to go back as far as the company allows me to. A lot more amount of history that you have, the more amount of data that you have to work with to make historical pivots. TDW, that's what I was about to type in. Should we expect another run? Ran from 2 to 260. What does this company do? They're part of oil, so you'd have to, looks like you'd have to follow oil for this. There's a nice little reversal that they had. I don't know if I would expect much more movement from it right now, but it's something to keep on watch. I think we already went over IRG. Need to check out MTW. Huh. Okay. I'm guessing it's getting pumped up before earnings. So this is scary for somebody who wants to hold through earnings. Nice technical breakout from that low 6 range. Not sure what's causing the upward movement. Interesting chart, nonetheless. And it looks like the last last time they beat earnings, time before that was pretty neutral. Let's see. Yeah. Actually, they didn't beat earnings. They went downward. Okay. And then after that, they had some kind of catalyst, probably. Doesn't look like they do very good overall on the past few earnings. This is the last earnings where they had a good report. That was in the beginning of 2015. Don't know enough about this company. I would say that this is a pump up before it starts to go down due to the earnings report. But interesting chart, Henry. Interesting chart. Okay. You got a breakthrough on the Ichi. This one's all over the place. Is this yeah, ADR, okay. I was gonna say. Another interesting chart. I don't know enough about this company. They also have earnings coming up. Something to be careful of. I don't know how they did on previous earnings. Doesn't look like they report them to TOS. Henry, you find some weird tickers, that's for sure. Oops. CVM. Yeah, that's what I typed in. CVM WS. There we go. I'll just keep those warrants on watch in case CVM does have some kind of spike. Pranschwing. Okay, that's interesting. Let's check out this Pranschwing. Had nice movement at the beginning of the month with that spike, and it's slowly holding an uptrend. It's also an ADR. Doesn't have a lot of data to it. Had that random spike again, so as ADRs are accustomed to doing, they'll randomly be pumped, and they tend to sometimes be low float, just due to the fact that ADRs, they don't put as many ADRs out as the actual stock itself. Other than that, there's no strong indication of short-term movement. It is holding that uptrend from the beginning of the month, which is interesting. My cup of coffee is empty. Goodness, not enough coffee in the world. It's a whole lot of channel surfing here. Got that 305 to 320. Lee Enterprises. Looks like it's just back into its channel trend after its initial drop, or this drop here for what, a year and a half. And it did initially break out of that trend at one point, came back down, tried to break above it, broke below, now it's hanging out there. Not sure what this company does. Not a particularly short-term interesting chart. You'd have to look into the longer-term fundamentals if you're looking for a swing on this play. But when you see a chart like this, generally I stay away from it for a short-term play. There's nothing too interesting going on with it in the short term. Is HMNY a swing yet? HMNY. Well, your indicator was around 373, 375 here. That's what should have been charted out if you're playing this. So that's the price level that you're going to want holding, say 375. And once it broke that, it had that upturn. If we go back further, we can see the indication. If I made this candle bigger, you'd actually see the 375 indicator on there due to that gap that happened initially. Overall, it's in that longer term downtrend. It does have spikes from time to time. It does look like it held below that on the Ichi, that green line there. HMNY is still very, very risky. I don't know about that play for a swing unless there's something going on as far as a upcoming catalyst. I think that was just something that got played because of something like GLBS running. That's another low float. Low floats like to run together. ASM short term. That is showing a slight trend of reversal from December. Not much data to go off of on the 15-minute. If you let go of this, he called it early in the week and let go of it on Friday. Makes sense to me. There's not too much movement. He would have expected more movement out of it in the upwards direction because of this move the previous Friday. So it is possible that this is going to try to continue higher. But there's not a strong indication that it will yet just because of the low volume. I think you really have to look for this 160 break, which is probably what he was looking for. RTK. Looks like we looked at it. I think I was saying that I wouldn't expect too much higher of a move on it. But you have the chart there in front of you, and you can always go back earlier. Just to double check. I don't want to contradict myself on that one, but I believe I would keep watch. I need more coffee. All right, VKTX. No, RTK is interesting. I think I decided I don't know how much higher I would expect it to go though. VKTX. I can see that we looked at this before. I have even trend lines drawn out. Moving a little bit closer here. There, then there's your uptrend. Looks like it's still holding that uptrend from last week. That would have been the extension of the trend line that we drew. And it held upward, and it wasn't able to crack this this resistance here. So just to keep that in mind. Still showing that short-term uptrend that it hasn't broken yet, but it hasn't quite broken out yet. So there's a possibility that it'll flag out, have another spike to 160. That's our PT for swing. Oh goodness, it broke out of, broke below all of these lines that we needed, eh? In 10 days, it dropped $10, huh? Nearly. I think we were looking at it for a break upward, and I just didn't manage it. And now it's trying to reverse in that $30 range. But I'd be careful with something like this. This could end up heading lower from here on out. Not sure exactly why it dropped, but it's been dropping since September. So you got to be really careful about that. It's still holding that downturn or downtrend. It's not showing a sign of reversal yet. CLDX for a long. Looks like pop fade. It's heading back into its channel here. So just get a couple lines going here so we can see what's going on. Yeah, it looks like it just had that pop upward and it's heading back into this channel again. So to call a long, you would have to look more into the fundamentals of the company. There's nothing in the technicals that are indicating that it'll have a strong move upward in the near future yet. AKS long or swing. Is it bouncing in the Ichi here? It looks like it might be bouncing off that 8. This might be a good opportunity to oh, it's bouncing right off that bottom of the Ichi on the daily. This is why the daily Ichis are awesome, because you can see it's getting 3 candles of action right there. Confirmation is going to be about $8.30 for a swing play, and your exit by then will be just below $10 if everything goes well. As long as this cloud holds, it should try to at least retest the top of the cloud. You're going to find resistance currently, looks like about 905 and 958 currently set out as points. But this actually does have that a possible trend for reversal here. We don't have quite enough data to call it. Let's see what the earnings are saying. Their earnings are excellent as far as compared to the estimated, and that's what made it drop. So that means there's more in this earnings report that did not look as good as it was supposed to. Their EPS is actually good, but they had more information in there that caused the drop. And it's finding support around that $8 range, which is awesome. There's a possibility that you could have a nice swing here. This is a steel company. Steel companies are on vogue right now, steel and oil. So let's see. Sees weakness in the steel sector imminently. Interesting. They might be trying to scare people out of steel to buy cheaper, because steel is kind of projected that it's going to actually end up being stronger. So I honestly I would keep that in mind. They always try to lie to us. I don't think I have anything for steel. You know, if we don't have it, let's start it. Steel, right? Bam. Look at that. We got a new watch list. And I'll add more to it as time goes on. But I think this is actually at a good level between that $8.30 $8 to $8.30 range. Would be a interesting time to buy currently. And just keep in mind that if it cracks below like 775, then you should probably take an exit on it and watch for a better entry. But I do like that chart. That's the only concerning part, is that double top, but considering macroeconomic events with steel on the horizon, at least as of current, should be a good swing. All right, I'm gonna grab coffee real quick. We're about an hour and a half into this Q&A. Hopefully I'll see a couple questions when I get back. Coffee, 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 coffee. All right, I don't see any questions yet, so let's do a detailed technical analysis on DNAX, since it's the best ticker in the world. I mean, just look at that chart. Amazing chart. You can see that even though this had a downtrend and never broke below 0, so it actually broke out of the trend. Obviously, it's going to go up from 0.001. It's going to go back up to, like, let's just say $50, maybe $70. So let's write in, you know what, I'm going to be optimistic, $700. So somewhere around here. You know, we'll draw an oval here just so we know. Look at that oval. It's a good oval. Nice skinny oval, and $700. It's easy as that. That's how you make all the money, right? We'll put that $700 in there, and you'll just see this trend line. It'll break through all the Ichi clouds. And there you go. That's look at this. Slides down, slides across, slides up. Perfect. It's the best chart. It's the only chart you ever need. We'll make millions off of it. We'll start our own island. My favorite sector. I don't have a favorite sector. I just don't like biotech stocks. I think biotech stocks are just full of pitfalls. But I honestly don't have much of a favorite sector. I just like companies that have strong financials, or charts look good for a technical swing. Yeah, you guys, somebody just buy up, you know, this 35 million shares right here. We're good to go. This will go to 0.002. Oh, I'm sorry, 0.0002. And then from there, you know, it'll hit 1 penny, then $100. and we'll get to $700. I know it's $700. I put it down here by 27 cents, but it's like the equivalent as far as the spirit of the stock, right? Anyway, don't buy this. I'm just kidding. If anybody actually buys this, I'll feel bad that I just did this. I want to see GBSMD. Let's see what travesty they my TOS doesn't even want to look at this. It's like a nice garbage company. Oh yeah, that flattened out nice and quick. We can look at GBSM, the outlier. See, we have it at 0027, right? 0032 is where it closed. So that right now they're at 0047. Once they finally finish up the 20 days on this ticker, that they could do that one whole reverse split and level of dilution. Oh, they already did it. Okay. Oh, so they did it on the 24th. I sleep way too much. There you go. So that's what they did. Now we can look at the chart. So, oops. Yeah, we need the 180 day because they skipped 20 days. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, come on. If I'm zooming in that much, you should at least let me see it. Yeah, you can basically see this is where they ended it here at 1 penny. Now they're at 1/4 cent. Sudden jump was due to the fact that they went to the temporary stock for 20 days to do another round of dilution. It's hilarious. X or any other steel worth looking at? I don't have a steel watch list built right now, so I'm not exactly sure. Unfortunately for you guys, I can't think of any steel companies that I like. I'm gonna have to look into them overall. So, interesting question, but I don't have any answer for that quite yet. Is Free still a company? Are they still trading? It's my favorite company. One day it's gonna go back to this price here. Obviously, we're going back up there. It's only at 0.0003 right now, so if you want to make, like, I don't know, there's so many zeros there I can't even count. It's a good company to buy. What about Luna? Let's check it out. Yeah, that's definitely a break of that trend. Got to break that 190 for that indicator for the possibility of a short here. Exit by 171. So 189 to 171. Is that what you're looking at for a short there, Henry? Because that's what I'm seeing here. I'm guessing that's what you're looking at break downward. All right, yeah, I see that very viable. Just got to break that 190 or crack it. But it does look good as a short there. Let's see what I got. Sub 30. TGD. How's TGD doing? Not well. Cool. It's up 8% on Friday. A 35-cent bounce, huh? One of those gold companies, so it's a possibility that it could end up higher. But actually, interesting chart there. 7 cents to 60. I think we went over this last week. Drop back down, and now they're trying to break through the Ichi cloud on the daily. So if this breaks 40 cents, actually, Henry, check this out. If this breaks 40 cents, it'll be breaking through the Ichi cloud, and gold is looking, it's like a little bit up for tomorrow, but we're looking for gold to break through the Ichi cloud soon enough. So this might actually be a play to 50 cents soon enough. I think I probably said that last week too. It started to do something. We'll see. Zippered, these always get recorded and put up on YouTube for us for future use. So I haven't seen much else that I can add to this watch list for tomorrow. I'll definitely be watching the scanners, and then watching CVM, and then NVIS is going to be more through the week. Hopefully, we'll see what happens with that. What does it say next to CVM here? I don't know what it says, but next to CVM there, it's got a question mark. Do they got... Oh, okay. Earnings on the 7th. No biggie. We'll be out of there before then. Might be a good pump. How's Kosi doing? Let's check it out. Still not down to where I want to buy it. Still hanging out above 1.5 cents. Lame. I want it below 1.5 cents. I got some shares, but still, I don't want to pay more than 1.5 cents for it. Let's see. Bottom plays. Yeah, CVM was on that bottom playlist. It was top on it. Okay. Mining and gold, TGD hit the top of the list. GSV hit second top on the list. Let's check that one out. Ooh. Believe we drew these lines last weekend. It managed to break through on Thursday. Very nice. I would keep this on watch as a gold play, GSV. It's looking decent. Anything small energy? CRR has been a crazy one. I'm so sad that I didn't find this one earlier. This one's definitely got to keep on watch for that swing. But it's been coming ever since the end of October from $5. It's already up to 15 nearly. So this one's definitely one to keep on watch as well. Do a little bit more research on. Beat up oil plays. There's your beat up oil plays, but doesn't mean that I would want to play them. REXX is my favorite beat up oil play. GLBS to be an attractive short. I know Henry's gonna have the number for me. Attractive shorting status. When it came all the way down to nearly 7. And now it's bouncing back. So then below 7, I guess, is your shorting point. It's hard to call a GLBS because it's kind of acting pretty unusually. It's starting to look like REN, which did this. As you can see here, we had that climb upward, and I kind of hung out in that channel before it really started picking up steam. So just something to keep in mind that REN ended up, now it's at $47. I remember when it was like $3. That was like big missed opportunity, but just keep that in mind. I mean, it's starting to, GLBS is starting to create a different kind of pattern. So all the other shipping plays are in the trash. Not seeing much else that I'd be interested in for tomorrow. GLBS short if we crack $8.20. Yeah, that sounds plausible as well. But it did crack already one time, so you would have that short opportunity down to 7 easily from that $8.20, I'm guessing. Let's see here. $8.20, yeah, about there. That makes sense. Oh, I see it. Dropped down to 7 during extended. That's what I was looking at. My mistake. Yeah, sounds about right, Henry. Ichimoku Cloud's going to indicate at 8:50. Well, it's going to be different because that's on the 15-minute. Yep, sounds about right. About $8.20. Sounds like the crack. Good call, Henry. Good call. Draw that in. Well, let's take any last minute questions here. NAKD seems like it's done, at least on today's focus. I want that in potential plays now. GBIM is OTC, so I don't want that in my potential plays list anymore. GSL. Not sure what you're looking for with GSL here. 6 or 3 month swing. Does look like it's starting to level out at that 150 range. I really don't know anything about the company to call a swing on it. On the daily, it is having a BB crossover. There's been several failed BB crossovers. It looks like when it indicates 2 BB crossovers, it has a better chance of an uptrend. Like, for example, here we did have one and it didn't actually pan out, but we did have one here that was a strong one. But we don't have as strong of a movement here since we do have a red candle right after. It's possible that you're going to get a spike out of it. Shipping always seems to end up spiking every couple months. But I would be careful if it does crack that 150 and then reevaluate a position in it. It seems like everybody's died down. We got some questions answered. It's pretty nice. I think for now we'll call this one a shorter one. When you're reading charts, best to avoid AH and PM due to lack of volume. What would be enough volume to should pay attention? I mean, sizable volume is always something that you need to be aware of. If the float's 10 million and you see that it traded like 500,000 of the 10 million in extended hours, I mean, that's a sizable amount of volume. That's about 5% of the total amount of volume. So that's something to keep in track of. If it's 5,000, then that's something that's negligible, especially if it's a stock that's as low as $1. If you're looking at something that's a $60 stock and it has 10,000 volume, then maybe that could be, if it's in multiple transactions, something that's indicative of something going on there. So it all takes into factor how much money was actually spent in that extended hours, not necessarily how many shares. But we'll call it an early night. Everybody can get some sleep, get ready for tomorrow. Right now we're seeing gold is heading upward. It's got nice BB crosses all day. So we'll see what happens with that. and that the futures are pretty neutral currently. So we'll see. It should be a pretty typical day tomorrow, barring news. But as always, it was enjoyable. Everybody who missed out on this will always get to, watch this and go over the tickers that we went over tonight. And we'll see what happens throughout the week. Always enjoy spending this time with you guys. Guys, trade safe. Make good choices. And I'll see you in the chat. You guys have a good night, all right?